Hi, Neil. So if I'm in the wrong meeting, you're in the wrong meeting as well.
Yep. Yeah, I'll just get myself a coffee and then I'll be coming up.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
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 Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, once again. We'll just wait a couple of minutes for anyone to join us. So, welcome to Keneric and Abid as guests. As usual, do you have anything that you would like to raise with us, Keneric or Abid?
No, I'm about to send Basco a DM. He needs some help with some metadata. And
Fine.
I've been busy last week and I forgot about it, to be honest. But yeah, just hanging in there, see what's going on. We're getting a hard fork or what?
We will be, Keneric, I can guarantee that.
Great.
That was no information. Actually, I think we need some information from you. Yes, you need to provide us with information from the family for the metadata.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to meet them on Sunday, actually, because
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. And as usual, does anyone else have any items that are not on the agenda they would like to include? I'm taking the deafening silence as a no, but you can always use the chat. Hopefully everybody had a great Easter break, if you celebrate Easter.
I was setting up smart contracts to know.
I've been playing around with game theory, Alex.
Oh, Fabulous. Very good topic. Who have you tried to trick?
Mostly myself so far.
Games shouldn't be about tricking. They should be about constructing win-win situations.
Yeah. Let's construct a game that's win-win for everybody and surely not tricking.
Absolutely. Win-win is definitely better than lose-lose, Alex.
Yeah.
Great. So let's get the meeting started. So welcome to the Technical Steering Committee meeting of the 8th of April 2026. Just do a quick check on the attendees. I can find the attendees. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 voting members of the Technical Steering Committee present, so I deem that we are quorate in case we need to take any decisions. So I've pasted in the agenda into the chat. As usual, if you'd like to start with the actions from the last meeting, Bosco.
Sure, let me share the screen, essentially the same thing that you're using every time, so we can all follow. Actions from the last meeting, just pasted it here, so a bit of formatting needed, but anyway, it's the same thing. So, Kevin, it was for you and Udai to sync and to clarify the final division of the security budget between TSC and OSC. So, did that happen as 2 chairs or not?
No, but my understanding was that the OSC had transferred the budget to their budget to the to Intersect generally, Bosco. So as long as we're aligned with the Intersect budget, we don't need to do we don't need to form coordination between the OSC and the TSC.
Okay. For the 2 of us, which I sadly didn't do anything about, is coordinate a doodle poll, because it's not at the moment in my focus. However, if you can spin it up, I mean, let's think up async in a way. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
It will take only a few minutes to do it, Bosco. I was going to do it before this call, but I got called into something else.
Okay, I will get in touch with you on that. For Ryan, I suppose, yeah, this is for Ryan Wiley, but he's not here, right? Or is he? To prepare a maximal list of forkable SIPs in coordination with Ryan Williams for the upcoming community call, but I suppose nothing has happened there, nor is the time, maybe.
No. So Ryan sends his apologies for not being here today. Let's just follow up with him on that. I think it's becoming important to progress this, to provide input to the DREPs and community as we go in to the budget round. And of course, it's for us as we're coordinating the hard forks as well.
Correct. So this will stay on the list of the action items. So this list of forkable SIPs then. Okay, for Leandros, update the 2030 KPI document with the Genesis range window. Implementation data is shared in Slack.
So Leandros and I were just on a call with the product committee where we were discussing that document, Bosco. So the been up. I think it's been updated. Leandros can confirm that.
I've updated it with the requests by the product committee. I haven't included the Genesis window calculations, but I have here the note that it's an option of calculating chain density based on epochs or the Genesis windows. Whichever is selected, we will apply.
Fine. So I think we can take that action as complete, right, Leandros?
Yes.
Great.
Okay. This didn't happen. TSC account, so promoting of the April election applications via X, specifically targeting prospective technical candidates. And I saw that Nicholas Beery wanted to discuss this aspect on the call, but you are the chair, so I'm just stating.
Let's add that to the. I'll add that to the agenda, Nicholas, unless you want to cover it now.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Can wait. It can wait the agenda item. No problem.
So we've
Okay.
got an agenda item where we're discussing the elections, Bosco's.
Yes, yes.
We discuss that.
And the last one on me, investigate the feasibility of an RSS feed for technical parameter updates to improve developer communication. So currently I'm more looking to the opening of the respective Discord channels for anybody to be able to read. So that could be a way, even though you wouldn't need to be an Intersect member to have an access to the specific designated channels. However, I just need a confirmation. So I intend to do the same thing with Hard Fork Working Group channel and also with this one. If there is a channel for the parameter updates, is there or not on Discord?
I don't think
Is there any?
is.
There is.
I don't-
Okay.
I don't think there is. So I mean,
Okay.
I don't think. Yeah, I think if
Mhm.
given that the TSC is the authority that accepts them, that
Mhm.
channel should be sufficient. Don't get too many channels for them to follow. Right? That's it. Yeah.
I agree. I just want to make sure
You
we understand each other.
You managed to skip the item that mentioned Lee, which I was very pleased about, by the way. In the thing, could you, Bosco? I haven't done that. Could somebody could you send me the URL for the professional technical review document? I'm down to do something.
Yeah, I was reading that action, Neil, and thinking it was possibly a little garbled.
Aha! Sorry, I didn't.
So I think it was actually two actions, and one was to, as you had a proposal to, you were proposing to look at how to do professional technical review, Neil.
Yeah, that's it.
Separately, we were looking at the budget proposal, and I was going to determine whether to $150 per review was a sensible rate or not. We'll come back to it later, but what I did was to increase the amount asked for $250 per review, which is a hopefully reasonable rate.
So, given that split, if Bosco out of band, you could send me the URL for that document because I can't find it. I will engage in that forthwith, as they say. Okay.
So TSC budget document, that's the one.
No, it's the professional technical review proposal.
Yeah, I don't think there is a document, Neil. I think the idea.
So I can't finalize something. It has to be created. Okay, if the action is on me is to create an outline, then I'm willing to take that on. But let's put that in the minutes for this meeting. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And that's a sensible action, Neil, correct?
Apologies for
Correct.
skipping your item. I overslept.
I think the note the AI needs to apologize for garbling things in the first place.
I agree. But some level of manual check is always good. So yeah.
So it might be that you and I we should coordinate on some sort of outline of the review process, Neil. So I'm happy to provide input to that as well. Great. Shall we move on? First item on the agenda. Let's go back to the agenda. Yeah, so TSC budget proposal. So not a lot has changed from last week. As I said, all I've done is to go through and make a change to the review rate, and I've proposed to increase the review rate from $150 per review to $250. That seems to me to be a reasonable reward for conducting a review, and this is not a review of an ongoing project. This would be for a proposal review as part of the review process. Independently, I understand that Intersect is looking at its own internal project review process based on the light of experience with the 2025 budget and the work that's being carried out. But we will discover more about that in due course, Bosco. And the deadline of April 13th is still fixed. Is that correct?
As far as I know, yes. But what is it? So it's Tuesday. No, it's Monday next week.
Monday.
Right?
Yep. So if anyone has any changes that they would like to make to the budget proposal, now is the time to raise them verbally, and today or tomorrow is the time to raise them in the form of comments on the proposal. And I will take an action to finalise the proposal by Monday. And assume that if there are no comments, that people are comfortable with the current state of the proposal. Again, taking silence as approbation. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I love the tone of that language.
It is a commitment, Bosco.
I know, but I love the tone.
You know where it comes from, Bosco? It comes from the standard. It comes from the standard marriage ceremony in the United Kingdom.
It sounded so noble in a way, so that's why I love it. Good. Okay,
Good.
Kevin, go on. Your time.
If you don't say anything, we will be wedded to the proposal. Moving on. Van Rossum hard fork. So the node version 10.7.0, there's been some progress on that. The team believes it may have found the cause of the performance issue that we discussed last week. Unfortunately, AWS fell over during the reevaluation of the fix, so we don't have any definitive information yet. We're expecting that imminently. But what it does mean is there will need to be a node version 10.7.1 that includes that fix and any other changes. Yeah.
When you say it fell over, did this mean that the instances had to be changed, or was this just a?
It was a hardware failure. No.
So that means that they got to go through a recalibration cycle then, which will take another few days, a week.
I would assume so. I don't.
Okay, right. Okay, some sort of hard. That means basically you've got to start from scratch and do an old one to make sure you're still getting the same numbers, which you won't. Right. This is the problem with the. Okay. What I'm saying is, don't expect it soon.
Good. We will monitor the situation. We could. So one. Yeah, no, I was going to say one good thing is we can get some preliminary information on we can't get the final benchmarking until the Amazon instance is recovered, but we can get preliminary information on the timings there. Bosco, these were gross measures. The performance, it was something like I think we were being reported a 50% increase in CPU usage when synchronizing mainnet. So these were very observable even without running the benchmarking. Bosco.
Okay, just a question. I'm interested to understand. You probably know Kevin from before, so I will be quick. So how was decision being made about the node readiness when it was all I/O without Voltaire, before Voltaire era? So who was deciding on when the node is ready? How was that working? Because you keep saying we, I'm not judging, I'm just saying, so are you part of I/O or not part of I/O? Who is deciding basically on that thing?
You're asking several different questions conflated
Yes.
into one basket. So the process that was being followed was the engineering team was taking a collective decision on readiness. So and the performance and tracing team will have had a power of veto on readiness if the benchmarking information was unacceptable, as this seems to be unacceptable, then that would be a veto on mainnet readiness. Likewise, the test team had a veto if regression tests failed, then the node was not mainnet ready. Okay, so those were two gating points. Then assuming the engineering team as a whole was comfortable, the decision was taken by the head of product and the head of engineering for IOE. Okay, so that was how it was done. I do not defeat the IOE for its current process.
Okay. So it's basically IO that is deciding on the readiness of the particular node version for the mainnet and everything else. So I'm just thinking whether TSC has any role in it, just out of ignorance or not, because TSC is just a recommendation, or what is the role of TSC in the hard fork itself?
So TSC formally is it's formally signing off on the node versions. So there's a formal sign-off process which I have been coordinating. My role is chair. So about a year ago, the process shifted from only needing internal sign-off to also needing external sign-off. So the product committee and the technical steering committee are both signing off on the node readiness, and that's done at the point when the release notes are prepared.
Perfect. That's actually the understanding that I wanted from this, so we don't need to spend any more time on it, but thank you. That was it.
Okay, so 10.7.0 said performance issues may well have been identified, but we won't know immediately. There is also one of the issues which has cropped up is that there's apparently a space leak that is causing a growth in memory usage by up to 6 gigabytes over a period of 1 to 2 weeks. So it's a relatively slow growth. The information seemed to be that it was hitting a limit at that point. The benchmarking team believes this is a blocker to a mainnet release. An increase of that magnitude is not acceptable. No known cause at this point in time, but the team is it's trying various approaches to try to identify it. And again, you don't need the full benchmarking cluster to track that down. A single node or a small cluster is sufficient to determine the memory leakage. So that may delay a 10.7.1, again, information as and when we have it. However, the overall timeline for Van Rossum is, although we have to take into account that there could be some slippage as a result of the investigation, the overall timeline should not be impacted because at this stage we've provided a pre-release version of the node that DApp developers and others can use to start their own testing. So we're in a period when people should be testing against 10.7. 10.7.0 is adequate for that, even if it's not yet mainnet ready. So progressing, the risk register has been updated based on the information we had, but no changes from last week to this week. We're still essentially at the same level of risk that we were at before.
I didn't get if you said it, so pointing out what Sam said yesterday, so integration is already happening with Rosetta. It's already underway. Right?
Yes.
I guess 10.7.0. So timeline still stands, might be even more squeezed. Currently, it's at the end of June.
10.7.0 is 10.7.0. 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 10. Yes, but the integration is starting to happen. Then there should be no real blockers to the integration efforts starting.
Yes.
So we will probably expect 10.7.1, based on where we are, probably expect that to progress into a Node version 11. But we will see how that develops.
Correct.
Great. Any other questions on the hard fork? So 2030 KPI document, Leandros, you gave us an update earlier. Was there anything you wanted to add to that?
Not particularly. If the committee or anyone on the committee has an opinion about using what we already have, that is per epoch measurement, or if it's best to go for a Genesis window measurement, the Genesis window measurement will give us a better indicator of long range attack, while the per epoch measurement makes measuring much more straightforward because we have clear start times and end times. So Neil has something to say, I think, about this.
So I was trying to find the right button. I would suggest you need both, right? Because the whole density, and you probably need to have historical density maps to show when the density was low, okay? Because they represent, if during operation there was a low piece of density like there was last November, that represents a point in time where people could potentially get some, the attacker could have a bit more of an advantage. But if they do not exploit that advantage within a certain period of time, that long range attack becomes harder and harder. So I think you're probably going to go for, long-term range and basically put a moving average on epochs, the last 3 epochs, the last 10 epochs, or something like that would be the sort of graphing I would do.
Okay.
Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it is my understanding that basically a lot of these theoretical attacks require people to not participate in order to be able to because they and therefore if there is high participation, then basically these attacks aren't possible.
Yes.
Okay. But I will get corrected if I'm wrong.
That is my understanding too.
So so the point is, while there's lots of, November was a problem because there's low density, but because no one, I've no idea how quickly that opportunity degrades, but I think it's probably disappeared by now because of the nature of how it all stacks up. Excuse me, I seem to be attacked by a neighborhood cat. Right. Decided to come in and say hello. Right, okay, I'll stop there.
Yeah, so the consensus team, they have concerns, as you say, Neil, if chain density drops below some level. Might be good to get their input on that. Maybe Leandros, we could put you in touch with the relevant team members. But something around the 85-90% level, I don't think is going to be a problem. This is what we were proposing. So we had a discussion. We presented the findings to the product committee earlier. There was a good discussion about that just before this meeting. This particular measure is something which can't be used as it probably can't be used as direct marketing metric. What we're doing here is to monitor the security of the system and the health of the SPO ecosystem, because that also contributes to chain density. But this is about maintaining current standards rather than about any kind of improvement. So it's a baseline measurement. We need this to have sufficient security and to have a sufficiently healthy stake pool community. Other metrics that we looked at These are things which are, well, they drive particular lines of research. So one of the metrics, one of the KPIs was the level of income for the chain Leandros from fees or other sources. And what that suggests to the product committee is they should be looking at ways to either increase the fees level. So the work that we're doing should be aimed at increasing the fees revenue, or we should be investigating alternative revenue sources. So some research might be needed to determine that, and that could be via partner chains such as Midlight, etc., or it could be from other sources.
Yes, I'm not sure if research is needed per se, but several avenues will probably need to be investigated and attacked in order to achieve the target results.
Yeah, as referring to research in a general term, it might be more. It's not quite market research, but it's some kind of investigation into what alternatives might be possible and what would be the impact of each of the alternatives.
Yeah.
But the point we were making to the product committee is it's not just a case of setting the targets, but you might also have to might also need to be active in directing the work that was carried out to progress the goals that were being set. And also that will be necessary to provide dashboards and other ways to monitor each of the KPIs so we can determine whether progress is being made. And that might in some cases have marketable value, which is what they were mostly interested in.
Yes.
Anything else to add, Leandros, on that?
No, I don't have something else to add or comment.
Great. So moving on to the next item, Sebastian, I put a couple of items on the agenda for you. I'm conscious we haven't had an update from you recently. I know you were at the Laos monthly meeting last week, which conflicted with this meeting. It would be interesting to get an update on how things are progressing.
Yes, of course. I can give a short summary. Neil, you want to go first? You have your hand still raised. I'm sure. Suppose not. Oh, yeah. So that was just a reminder. All right. Yeah, we had the last monthly review meeting was last week, on April 1st. The full recording can be found as always on our list. Put this in the chat. So it was the update for March. We moved it by 1 week because of the Builderfest. A few people from the team of contributors to Laos have been in the Builderfest, so that's why we moved it. And I will let me just give a 5-minute rundown maybe of what the progress was by just using the slides, which we also showed. I just briefly skim over them. Not very prepared here. Yeah, latest progress we showed was of the prototype. So of a setup, a very small setup, which is a 3-node setup, instrumented through Grafana and other systems. A new generation, transaction generating binary is used. So to load the network in a given shape, we would want to see the mempool be clearing quicker. We demonstrated that, especially in the Builderfest. We kind of saw exactly that behavior. We could already produce this on the prototype. So that means not only about producing EBs, storing, offering, and relaying them, but now also adopting blocks which contain still mocked crypto certificate of it, and there's no voting yet. But by including that bigger or certificate about the EB, the mempool gets cleared out in bigger spikes. So here, this is a very high demand on a mempool, and we see on elections, browse elections, when an EB was certified, the mempool be depleted more than what the smaller spikes, the prayers would be. So we showed that, a bit more info on the new generation tool, like the transaction generating tool by the performance and tracing team. We also demonstrated, we pointed at antithesis being used in the Laos repository. So it's run by the GitHub CI. In fact, that a similar setup as we just saw is tested in this simulation-based fault injection test using some standard properties there. We're working with Blink Labs on this one, and they will be smoothing out some edges so that these reports can be used by any of the contributors to the repo. This is an example of such a report where basically these properties are checked throughout like multiple runs and multiple hour-long runs or multiple hour runs compressed in to a smaller wall clock time, of course, because of everything simulated. We had a report on Delta Q. So Yves concluded his work. This was an R&D work stream about modeling the diffusion and the processes of getting EBs applied and included, and to kind of support the security argument of the layers, design, which depends on the diffusion of the EBs being in a given form, shape within parameters. So it's basically an extension of the Prowse diffusion model, which already existed, taking this into kind of multiple dimensions, combining multiple smaller submodels into a form to be somewhat representing this diffusion of an EB. I had personally not really reviewed this much yet, but it seems it was peer-reviewed by a few others. So seems convincing so far, and will be useful for it's an analytical model we can use a parameter setting.
So sorry, so going back to what you were just showing with the model, so what you're saying is in the case where you're fetching an endorser block, there is a 5 out of 6 probability that the transaction is in the mempool and a 1 in 6 in the TX cache. Is that correct?
This is
that,
I think, the current model, which is visualized here, yeah.
So the
I'm not
numbers
entirely sure how these values are found.
Right. So what I was wondering is are the numbers coming from simulation or are they just assumed? Sebastian, do you know?
I don't know. I can't answer it right now. There is this technical report which I just let me just give you the link into the chat, which is more info. I think that's that one. I still have it on my to-do list to read that one to myself. Just wanted to show that there is some progress there. We had a bit feedback or kind of some progress on the ACTA proof, still on a somewhat idealized network. So let's see how that it was progressing. So Andre was presenting this, and yeah, I don't want to go into the details here, but this is of course the most formal mechanized way to kind of reason about the protocol. But it's always, need to see how much of the real world is abstracted into things here, especially the network.
What does the safety property mean, Sebastian?
Safety. I mean, this is this one is the browse safety property, which is the common prefix.
Okay, so this is just Prayos. It's not specifically.
This is browse safety in the top, and layer safety is. I can't really read this one that much. The layer safety basically means that if browse is safe and how is it still safe with layers enabled, right? And under which conditions this is the case. And if I recall correctly, like if the Andre is taking even or is kind of formally proving and realizing that any extension of a safe protocol which doesn't change or which still is uniquely determining so the sequence of blocks, that then the extension is also safe. But this is only true for safety, I believe, and not for liveness. I would need to go back to the details about this one. So I see you're intrigued, and there's maybe a bit more detail to be found on the actual recording and further and past work in this area.
Yes, if you did the previous slide, the one you were showing, so the one that was summarizing, no, the one that's summarizing the proof.
Yeah.
So one interesting result is that you're generalizing to other Laos variants. So you haven't proved this specifically for linear Laos.
Yeah, this is I guess again, right? This is if you just look at the ultimate sequence of blocks, right? Then that's all cool. But of course, if it abstracts away how you can get to that one, and do you get to it in time, right? Which is the intricate details about I think these things being safe or not. It's not as easy as it appears, I believe. So, but this is my opinion about this work stream.
But that's nice. The fact that you haven't proved it just for a specific protocol is a nice result, Sebastian. So that's great. The final point possibly worries me because it looks like you're proving something like an eventual consistency property.
That's exactly what I mean, right? So that network is still kind of with assuming the network has infinite throughput, right?
Yes, and possibly infinite time.
That very much true, right? Exactly, right. Take everything here with a grain of salt, right? With like these formal models are often conveniently abstract, and if it's so abstract that it doesn't really relate to the real world, then they're not so useful.
Yeah, so obviously that's a limitation on what's being done. We need to be cautious about that.
Yeah, I hope you can tell by my assessment that I'm quite conservative in that area. Let's see. Now, then we had a few more also, I think, closeout remarks from other R&D work streams about modeling the mempool, especially in terms of MEV and like front-running capabilities and how these mempools basically they were simulated also by another group. So it was William and Ryan who worked on this. Some general statements coming from that work, and yeah, but these are, I think, more of conclusion in the end, but not real findings or not real news, I would say. And again, also this constraint analysis also provides a bit of a baseline of like the ideal schedule of things happening, that things should be fine given the parameters, and basically confirming a bit the simulations that what we did, that it's possible to kind of get this kind of sequencing, what we're aiming at, so that the amount of CPU to kind of do the verification of all of these blocks, all of course assuming or kind of taking some lower level measures of how long things typically take to validate. And but on an optimal schedule, this all works out within the limits. But of course, this is it's constraint-based analysis. Is kind of looking back at an optimal schedule of like verifying everything, and the protocol implementation will not have the benefit of backside in that sense. But there is, I think, the 1 month before had more information about this resource modeling. We showed some updates on the simulations, the Rust simulations, another network stack simulation. I'm speeding up here because I don't want to give the whole presentation, and just a teaser, right? We've been looking at committee selection, specifically about this weighted fait accompli with local sortition, its strengths and its weaknesses. Specifically, what we are now mostly concerned with is the certification time in layers. That is quite big given the split between persistent and non-persistent voters, and the cert size itself is also big, but not a big deal, but annoying. And we realized, of course, that it's only due to the non-persistent part, which is the very strong minority of the stake involved here. Like this weighted fait accompli partitions the whole stake distribution into persistent voters, which is most of the stake, and also the big stake owning pools, and non-persistent parts, which are selected on a local sortition, which are about the remainder of the stake. But most of the cost in terms of size and time is attributed to this non-persistent plus the cheap chairs here. And simpler schemes basically eliminate these completely at the cost of being more predictable, of course. Need to be bounded separately or differently, and even then another or third scheme, which is this public lottery, might be a sweet spot, which we're currently looking at. So yeah, checking back with the committee selection is what we're doing here, and just putting that together with benchmarks on the crypto, but also benchmarks on the networking, or at the very least using the simulations to see their impact on the networking. This is also to de-risk some of the delivery. And then we had another lecture by Nick about like at least 20 to 40 minutes of details on more productizing, I think, the layers fetch decision logic to make it in a resource-bound way, going through some of the some benchmarks on concrete latencies of like some disk storage we had implemented so far, and how these specific storage solutions, one or the other, would behave in not the average, but the worst case, and what to be cautious of, and then taking this not only further in terms of like what to keep in memory, where and how, and what's the quantities involved, but also how much of resource needs to be allocated for which things at which time, checking how many of these things can emerge at which time in the worst case, using these models of how many potential EVs can arise, and then we identified and closed out with kind of a new threat, which is basically not really an attack vector, but rather a threat. That, of course, everything which is based on a VRF election can result in this very unfortunate, we call them protocol storms, because they can't be engineered or used as like a burst, where an adversary can reveal certain big data at one point, but rather it can be a very unfortunate timing, and how the protocol can react to these things. Because if it would always need to take account all possible, like this is this analysis, all possible elections at all times, then we might be so conservative that it becomes quite annoying to implement or unfeasible to run for SPOs, and avoiding some things by design is what we're after here.
Could I just ask, before we go on, if you go back to the slide which has the numbers on it.
Which number?
The one that's 600, to go back 625 megabytes.
This one?
Yeah.
Yep.
What time limit have you got? I mean, that's an infeasible thing to build in a distributed network of the size of Cardano. Moving that amount of data in how long? In a voting cycle?
No, I don't think so. That this is. So whatever I say here doesn't basically pay tribute to the more clear presentation as Nick gave it. So this particular.
If you're wanting small stake pools to support that amount of data exchange, right? Then you are basically you're making a non-trivial change to the economics, is what I'm saying. Okay. That's
So I'm not sure.
I'm just saying, basically, it's not going to be feasible to implement this for small stake pool operators because they can't afford those costs, right?
The number you're looking at right now is the 625 megabytes here, right? So this basically is so this is 50 and this is all the current parameterizations from the simulations, right? The one which is in the SIP, which is this, I think currently like 12.5 megabyte of EB closure, and then of course in an adversarial setting, but this is not purely controlled by an adversary. This the scenario here, they would be all distinct, right? So we're talking about 625 unique.
Yeah. You know my right, but what I'm trying to say is those numbers would worry me from a point of view of actually practically deploying Laos. Okay. As always, I mean, I have this. I'm just saying, economic feasibility is of the actual solution. That's a worrying number.
Yeah. The number here is also, in particular, we came to it also more from what kind of like storage or kind of it, and in this case also can we kind of keep these very fresh, very urgently, maybe to diffuse data in memory or on disk, right? That's how we came to this whole analysis. And basically our conclusion here is that's not the biggest problem really, right? That having things in memory or on disk that is feasible, like this is kind of this is a way that's okay, but not okay for the network, right? So that doesn't say it here, right? Basically we can't really that to be diffused.
You're talking. The point is 12.5. I mean, the time taken to achieve that, right, is going to probably push you outside your time budgets.
It will,
as well as the inherent cost of all of the participants having to have that amount of capacity to pay for, right? And now the words reserve bandwidth panic me because actually you can't reserve bandwidth in the internet.
And that's exactly why there should be a cross there or something that more severe, right? Because that's exactly the understanding, I believe, which we also have, right? Okay. Maybe in summary, this is that's correct, of course, right? And the details here really lie in like that EB can be like, even if they are only allowed on whenever a PRAO selection is running, right? This is basically this super stupid, simple, and everybody complains too simple linear layout proposal, which kind of makes things very, very direct in that sense, right? Already in that situation, we can see these the probabilities of things happening in the worst case, right? Very, very rarely, but still kind of within a non-neglectable likelihood that EBs can emerge still on these schedules, right? And we must be ready to deal with them. We don't need to be ready to deal with them in a way that this succeeds in certification necessarily, right? This is all still an optimistic protocol, and it's perfectly fine if you don't have it operating in situations which can happen in theory or in some probability. as long as they cannot be engineered to be happening all the time, right? So it's kind of like this, they cannot be exploited by an adversary. That's why it's called Storm, and the weather can't be controlled. This will be part of our threat model too. And we'll be tracking these things there as we go forward. That was basically everything of the, and this was not 5 minutes, so I'm sorry. But if you want more details, the monthly is the place to be.
Yeah, thanks for the summary, Sebastian. Some interesting details there. If you can share the information in the Slack channel as well, so we can follow up on it, that would be great. Given the time, I propose that we skip over an update on the Layer 2 working group. Spend that till next time, Sebastian. It'd be good to catch up, but
nothing's interesting there anyways right now.
Layer 2 is not interesting. I couldn't possibly comment.
No, but I also haven't been much in that one, and I think the next one is scheduled for next week, I believe.
Okay, it's good to hear it's still progressing. I'm sure interesting things are happening. Alex, we're going to have. Well, I propose that we delay the parameter status update to next week. We'll have a call shortly anyway, and there's a parameter committee meeting on Thursday, so we can get an update after that meeting. Bosco, anything you wanted to say about the election process?
Well, other than a few things. So less than a minute. So I've already shared on the TSC elected members channel that all those 5 of you whose term is expiring at the end of this month can consider reapplying, of course, because at the moment of writing that, I don't have the latest number, but TSC was the only committee without any applicants. So just consider that thing as well. There was an X space yesterday. There is going to be a virtual town hall tomorrow, as we agreed the dates. So I will pass the link to that after the call. And also Nicholas wanted to add something on whether it would make sense to share from the TSC account or not. So Nicholas, if you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here. It's not about sharing the fact that people can apply with from the Twitter account of the TSC. It's more about, I think there was some idea floating around about pinging potential candidate, and it's more this that is a concern to me. I'd like the TSC to stay neutral in this, and pinging people from the TSC account breaks this neutrality from my point of view. I would suggest if somebody thinks that somebody would be a good candidate for the TSC, people can personally ping them, but I would not do this from the TSC account.
Okay, so I definitely encourage all existing committee members whose terms are coming up for expiry to reapply, of course, for a second term. And I'd encourage everyone to approach technically aware or suitably qualified candidates to join the TSC and to encourage them to apply before the deadline. I don't think we need to use the TSC X account to do that. Yeah.
Okay, there is nothing else on the agenda.
Great.
And
So
thank you.
Thank you everyone for a great discussion. Thank you, Sebastian, for your extended update on Laos. Good to see that progress is being made there, and looking forward to hearing more about it. And I will try to get a minute or two to set up a doodle poll so we can discuss the risks with that. Great. Thank you very much. Catch you all again very soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.